Welcome to Debate Combats, where tonight we tackle whether the United States should use automatic, refundable tax credits to reward individuals for seasonal preventive health actions verified through electronic health records. Think of flu, RSV, and updated COVID shots, plus routine screenings that return every year like the school calendar. The promise is simple: spend a few minutes preventing illness, then see the refund land without extra paperwork. Yet the stakes are bigger, because this pits personal choice and tax simplicity against public health gains and smarter spending. On the progressive side, the argument is that incentives can move the needle on prevention without raising prices at the pharmacy. On the conservative side, the challenge is that government should not use the tax code to steer medical behavior or grow data sharing. To keep this brisk and sharp, each side leads with a duo, a strategist and a closer, who punches with proof and emphasis. Progressives, you carry the affirmative tonight, so the floor is yours for the opening case.
We ask for a system that pays people back for doing the right thing at the right time, because prevention saves lives and cash when it is tracked and verified.
Real families feel these costs, so even a modest refund can mean groceries for the week, and that small nudge flips maybes into yes.
Seasonal shots and checkups reduce missed school days, protect newborns and grandparents, and cut hospital surges that strain every ward in the nation.
When a clinic logs a vaccination or screening, the refund would trigger automatically, so no forms, no fights with portals, just a clear thank you from the system.
This is pro-choice and pro-results, because no one is forced. Yet the design respects evidence that smart incentives drive healthy behavior without heavy mandates.
We talk about fairness too, since high earners already get breaks for many things, and a refundable credit lifts renters, students, and shift workers who do not itemize.
The tax code already encourages saving for college and buying clean energy, so encouraging prevention fits the same logic of rewarding actions that help the whole country.
Crowded buses, small apartments, and service jobs make exposure common, so a simple cash reward recognizes that staying well is work, and work deserves pay.
Electronic health records are standard across providers, so verification can be as simple as a secure flag that links a dose or a test to a one-time code.
The message to every teenager, parent, and retiree is clear: keep your community safer, and the nation will put a little money back in your pocket.
Thank you, progressives. That was crisp and grounded, so now let us hear from the conservatives with their opening case.
We oppose turning the tax code into a medical remote control, because taxes should be for funding government, not nudging private health decisions.
People hear refund and think free, but someone pays, and that someone is every taxpayer who did not consent to bankroll choices they may not share or trust.
Automatic credits add yet another layer to a code that already confuses families each spring, and complexity breeds errors, delay, and fraud.
Verification through records sounds neat, yet medical data are sensitive, and the more systems that touch them, the more doors swing open to misuse.
Public health claims are broad, but the effect size of cash incentives is mixed, and building a permanent national program on a shaky signal is reckless.
Some people avoid shots for real reasons or recent bad experiences, and they should not feel punished by a system that showers money on others for saying yes.
If the goal is access, then streamline clinics, support primary care, and cut red tape, because bribing people with refunds is a lazy substitute for trust.
Seasonal surges need elastic hospital staffing and clear messaging, not a new refund that arrives months later when the virus already moved on.
Once Congress pays for prevention this way, every interest will demand its own credit, from gym visits to smoothie receipts, and the code will buckle under gimmicks.
Real freedom means health choices without a government wallet on the table, and real responsibility means saving tax relief for simpler, smaller, and clearer laws.
Progressives, carry your momentum and press your case with a sharp targeted strike.
If we can push seasonal coverage from middling rates to strong uptake with a clean refund, we will cut emergency spikes, keep schools open, and spare small businesses from sick day waves.
Conservatives, you have the floor to brace an answer that hit with a focused defense.
A refund arriving months later is a weak shield in the heat of a viral surge, so the timing mismatch proves the policy is more theater than medicine.
Conservatives, now pivot from blocking to punching and make your proactive case.
When you pay people to do health tasks, you shift trust from doctors to dollars, and that swap feeds suspicion and erodes the very confidence prevention needs.
Progressives, the challenge stands, so meet it with a steady defensive reply.
Trust grows when systems are simple and fair, so an automatic refund that requires no forms treats a janitor and a banker the same way at last.
Conservatives, return fire with a coordinated two-voice advance.
The tax code is already a maze that families dread, so adding seasonal credits builds a spiral staircase over a broken floor.
Fraud loves complexity, and even a tiny false claim rate turns a public health tool into a budget leak that crowds out real clinic staffing.
Thank you, hold there, progressives. Take the baton and run a clean two-person drive.
Hospitals say prevention beats admission on both cost and human pain, so rewarding timely action is not moral bribery, it is good engineering.
Electronic records already log doses with secure timestamps, so routing a small refund through that same pipe is safer than coupon codes and safer than paper forms.
We keep the pace tight, progressives yield, conservatives defend with precision, and then turn the temperature up with a provocative question.
If prevention is priceless, why tie it to a price? And if it is common sense, why not simply inform, enable, and let choice speak without fiscal carrots?
What stops the next Congress from stacking credits for gym selfies and step counters? And why should every taxpayer bankroll a parade of wellness fads?
Progressives, address the challenge and expose a weak seam while you are at it.
Information and access are vital, yet history shows gaps remain unless you align incentives with daily life, so the refund fills the last mile.
The weak seam in the opposing case is the fantasy that status quo trust appears by magic, because trust flows from systems that deliver practical help on time.
Judges, give us a mid-match snapshot. Name the side you lean toward for now, one strength of that side, one weakness of the other, and lift both with a brief note.
I lean progressive for now, because the mechanism sounds executable at scale. The strength is clear logistics through existing records, and the conservative weakness is vague promises about trust, with thin operational detail. Keep pushing clarity, and keep the human stakes front and center.
I lean conservative because fiscal prudence and privacy deserve real weight. The strength is a sober warning about tax code creep, and the progressive weakness is the risk of timing gaps. Keep your arguments tight and respect the audience with numbers, not slogans.
I am split but tilting progressive, because the status quo fails too many people, the strength is a focus on outcomes and access, and the conservative weakness is offering critique without a rival blueprint. Keep it sharp and keep it civil, because viewers need light, not heat.
Round 2 begins with fresh angles expected. Conservatives, set the tone with a new line of attack.
Even with secure flags, any new link between clinics and tax systems widens the blast radius of a breach, so you should not build a bridge that hackers dream about.
Progressives, answer that concern with a crisp defense.
The design can keep health data on the medical side and send only a yes signal to the Treasury, so the bridge moves no private details and shrinks the target surface.
Progressives, follow defense with a jab that opens space.
When a refund lands quickly, families are more likely to book the next slot early, so speed becomes a habit, and habit becomes herd protection.
Conservatives, take the mic and guard your position with care.
Herd protection built on payouts can turn fragile when budgets tighten, so build habits on trust and convenience rather than on promises that may expire.
Progressives, bring a two-person surge that blends principle and proof.
We do not reward virtue, we reimburse public service in miniature, because every shot is a small shield for strangers you will never meet.
Pilot programs from clinics show that even small cash nudges boost timely uptake, so the practical evidence says a light touch incentive works where speeches do not.
Hold it there, conservatives, mount a paired strike and press the point.
A refund timed to tax season teaches people that prevention is a chore you file away, not a conversation with a trusted clinician who knows your story.
If we want timely care, fund walk-in hours, mobile vans, and neighborhood nurses, because real access beats a delayed gift card with government letterhead.
Strong Exchange progressives offer a two-part defense that answers and challenges in one motion.
We can run same-month refunds that post like a paycheck deposit, which means the motivation is immediate and the message is respect for your time.
If the rival plan is only to say trust harder, then it dodges the simple puzzle of why busy people skip care. So let us solve that with a small, reliable credit and a short line at the clinic.
Conservatives, bring a composed two-person defense that patches holes and points at the fault line you see.
A program that pays for specific actions will tempt designers to chase metrics, which drags care toward checklists and away from relationships, and that is a brittle way to steer health.
The weak seam in the progressive case is faith in a switch you can flip forever, yet political winds shift, budgets contract, and then the habit glued to cash peels away.
Progressives, the ball returns to you for a direct hit that tests the resolve of that caution.
Care that respects relationships does not fear convenience, and a well-built refund is a tool like online booking or ride vouchers that removes friction without touching your private choices.
Conservatives, meet that strike with a quick shield and a probing question of your own.
Why not fund clinics directly and keep taxes neutral? And why assume a refund is the only lever that honors time when better scheduling and local access pull the same weight?
Progressives, respond with a single calm reply that marks your distinction.
Direct funding and a smart refund are complementary lanes, because money for clinics builds supply, while the refund pulls gentle demand into the right weeks.
Conservatives, return to a fence with a fresh angle that speaks to small-town life and big-city scale.
A one-size refund ignores differences between a rural county with one pharmacy and a dense neighborhood with 5 hospitals, so the blunt tool will miss where help is thin.
Progressives, steady yourselves and keep the guard high as you rebut.
The refund is a floor, not a ceiling, and states can stack local bonuses in sparse regions, while the national rule keeps the baseline simple and fair.
Progressives, carry that momentum into a creative push that links schools, work, and wellness.
Tie employer payroll systems to instant posting and add school-based clinics on community days. And the refund becomes a friendly nudge that rides along with routines people already have.
Conservatives, place a careful defense that brings the conversation back to first principles.
First principles say keep the tax code narrow and transparent, because every new credit hides trade-offs that voters never see until the bill arrives.
Progressives, assemble a two-voice advance that showcases both moral logic and nuts and bolts craft.
We already reward college savings and solar panels because they serve the common good, so it is consistent to reward prevention that protects the public square.
On the nuts and bolts, a verified timestamp and a one-time token can route a refund without revealing diagnosis or history, which means privacy can be preserved by design.
Conservatives, one more paired push before we shift gears. Keep it tight and keep it real.
The more tokens and flags you add, the more audit rules you need, and the more honest people get snared in error messages that make them give up next season.
When the system punishes error with delay, the trust cost is steep, and you cannot repay lost trust with a bigger credit line.
Progressives, answer with a two-voice defense that patches and probes all at once.
We can cap review windows at days, not months, and show status like a shipment tracker, which calms nerves and prevents drop-off.
If you still fear drift, write a sunset clause and force Congress to reprove the program with fresh data every few years, which keeps rigor without losing the gains.
Judges, before we resume free play later, any quick encouragement to both benches will help the audience stay with the details.
You are both landing specifics, and that matters. Keep translating jargon into kitchen table stakes, and keep every claim tied to a tight mechanism.
Stay disciplined on costs and privacy, because those are the rails for public trust. And remember that good intentions collapse when numbers do not add up.
Do not forget the people working 2 jobs and the carers with no spare minutes. Keep asking whether your plan meets them where they are without scolding or maze building.
We move briskly and keep the lens wide, conservatives. Take the first swing of this fresh exchange with a new challenge.
A national refund risks masking local shortages, because the money may arrive while the nearest slot is 50 miles away, and the policy will get blamed for geography it did not fix.
Progressives, defend with a single clear answer that keeps the focus on practicality.
Pair the refund with mobile clinics triggered by low access maps so the credit calls the van, and the van closes the gap.
Progressives, add a pinprick attack that tests the resilience of the opposing framework.
If you cut the refund but promise convenience later, what stops another winter of waitlists and apologies that never reach the checkout counter?
Conservatives, hold your ground with a centered defense that answers the charge without drift.
Invest first in supply signals that move staff where lines grow, and once access is stable, test incentives in narrow pilots rather than betting the code.
Progressives, bring a coordinated pair to push the edge with a tight blend of empathy and engineering.
People racing between shifts need signals they can trust, and a refund they can plan on is a signal that respects that reality.
Engineering-wise, we can publish a season calendar with payout windows, like transit timetables, so families schedule care with the same confidence they plan commutes.
Conservatives, one last paired counter for this segment and make it count.
Every timetable is a promise, and promises from the tax system arrive late more often than not, which turns goodwill into cynicism.
If you want people to feel seen, cut their wait at the clinic door, not at the refund page, because time in line is the currency that matters most.
Progressives, defend with two voices that answer, and then turn the tables with a short challenge.
We can tie refunds to real-time clearing the way pay cards do, so the deposit hits while the sleeve is still on your arm.
If the rival plan will not guarantee same-day access or transport, then it is not a plan for real life, and that is the blind spot we keep seeing.
Conservatives, close this stretch with a measured two-person defense that names your route and flags a risk you will not accept.
Our route is simple funding for local capacity, plus clear messaging from trusted clinicians without fiscal strings attached to the patient.
The risk we reject is mission creep that turns the code into a scoreboard for private health. Because once you start counting, you never stop, and freedom becomes a spreadsheet.
Before we move to closings, are there fresh angles or unfinished business either bench wants to put on the table right now?
Here is one more thread. The refund can be indexed to community risks, so harder hit zip codes get a slightly higher boost, and that targets help without red tape.
Targeted boosts sound elegant until neighbors compare deposits and feel gamed by formulas they do not understand, which breeds resentment instead of trust.
Resentment fades when rules are simple and public, so the schedule and amounts should be posted like bus timetables, with clear reasons people can read in 2 minutes.
Posting formulas online does not cure the feeling that the state is micromanaging bodies with money, and feelings are what drive turnout and cooperation in the first place.
Cooperation also grows when people see lower bills and fewer missed shifts, and a fast refund is the most legible thank you the system has ever managed.
Legible or not, you are still turning a public square into a cashier line. And that is a cramped vision of civic life that reduces virtue to vouchers.
Civic life is not fragile if we back it with small, smart levers, and a well-timed credit functions like a public seatbelt reminder that saves lives without drama.
Seatbelts are mandates, not credits, so your own analogy admits the point that the real lever is clarity and standards, rather than dangling cash.
Standards and cash are not rivals when the aim is speed and reach. And in a long country with millions of schedules, the nudge meets people where speeches cannot.
Speeches are not the only alternative, because local nurses, backed with simple funding, have moved mountains for decades without paying people to show up.
Those nurses deserve steady budgets and a little help from timing-aligned incentives that keep their clinics from drowning every winter.
Every winter is exactly why we should invest in flexible staffing pools, rather than inventing an annual coupon that distracts from serious logistics.
A flexible pool and a light credit are complementary because one builds capacity and the other smooths demand like a gentle brake before a curve.
Gentle brakes are still brakes on freedom when tied to private choices that should sit between a person and a clinician without a treasury shadow.
There is no shadow if the system only receives a yes signal with a timestamp and pays a fixed sum with no snooping on diagnosis or history.
Signals create systems, systems create audits, and audits create stress that lands on the most vulnerable who cannot afford hours to fix a clerical glitch.
We can commit to a live status tracker that resolves within days, and to a hotline staffed by people who can actually fix errors in one call.
Promises of hotlines rarely survive budget season, and when they do survive, they route callers through mazes that make them regret joining at all.
If we tie funding to resolution time and publish performance, then bad mazes shrink because nobody wants their poor score read on a public dashboard.
Dashboards tempt politicians to chase pretty charts over messy reality, and health is messy reality, where relationships beat metrics every time.
Relationships thrive when systems respect time, and a predictable deposit is respect written in numbers that help families breathe between paychecks.
Numbers cannot hug a frightened parent when a rumor spreads, while a trusted local voice can steady a town without spending $1 extra.
The trusted voice and the refund can be allies, because a clear message plus a simple payoff beats a clear message alone in shifting the marginal maybe.
Your marginal maybe becomes a permanent dependence when budgets wobble and habits crumble, which sets us up to relive the same debate every few years.
We can write a sunset trigger that forces a vote after 3 seasons, with public data on savings. So renewal depends on proof, not faith.
A sunset that likely renews is just a pause button on a program that still expands the tax code and drags medicine toward fiscal engineering.
Time to crystallize, progressives. Give us your final case with one voice to order facts and one voice to reach the judges.
Fact by fact, seasonal prevention cuts hospital overload. Verified electronic records exist in nearly every clinic. A refundable credit reaches renters and cash-strapped workers. Privacy can be preserved with yes signals, not charts. Fast payouts can be run like payroll deposits rather than tax season, and a sunset clause keeps accountability alive.
To the judges, this is not a bribe but a small civic thank you that treats time as dignity, reduces chaotic surges that break staff morale, and signals that the country values the quiet work of keeping each other safe.
Conservatives, your turn for closing statements with the same two-voice structure.
On the fact, the tax code is already overgrown. Automatic credits add complexity that breeds errors and fraud. Data bridges widen breach surfaces. Payouts lag real-time surges. And evidence for lasting behavior change from cash is mixed and fragile.
To the judges, choose restraint, because freedom thrives when health choices flow from relationships and access rather than from the government wallet. And because trust once bent by incentives is hard to unbend when budgets or politics shift.
Judges, give us your considered calls and reasons while tipping your hat to the craft on both benches.
I vote progressive because the mechanism feels buildable with privacy by design, and because the plan pairs moral clarity with concrete plumbing, yet I praise the conservative focus on creep risks which should be fenced by sunsets and tight scopes.
I vote conservative because fiscal discipline and code simplicity must anchor public policy, and because privacy threats scale faster than good intentions, yet I credit the progressive bench for naming operations in a way that many reformers forget.
I vote progressive because the status quo leaves too many people behind, and the proposed tool respects time while remaining auditable. And I salute the conservative bench for defending first principles that any rollout must honor.
By a 2-to-1 decision, the progressive team takes the match tonight. And congratulations on a hard-fought and tightly argued victory.
Thank you for the chance to show that good design can make prevention feel simple rather than scary. And we hope people felt seen in the details.
We are grateful for the sharp pushback because it helps strengthen guardrails like sunsets, fast payouts, and public dashboards that keep the tool honest.
We tip our hats to the winners while holding the line that simplicity and privacy are not luxuries, and we will keep pressing for clinic-first solutions.
Debates like this matter because they reveal trade-offs in plain words, and we leave determined to refine a path that protects choice without fiscal strings.
Our thanks to both benches for the rigor, and to our judges for cutting through the noise with clarity and care. We are grateful to every listener who stayed with us through the twists and numbers tonight, because your attention is the oxygen of civil debate. If you enjoyed this clash, please tap like, subscribe to Debate Combats, and drop a thoughtful comment with your take or a topic you want next. If you wish to support the channel, use the QR code at the bottom right of the video or the link in the description to make a donation that keeps the lights bright. You will also find links in the description to a very different series we produce, and we think you will love those journeys too. Until next time, take care, stay curious, and meet us back here for the next round of Debate Combats.